everybody, it's Linda G, and I'm here with Andre at
Hi,
Astrology
everybody.
Alert. And we were just talking about McConnell. I accidentally told him McCarthy. I said, "Can you look at McCarthy falling down those stairs at the hotel?" He's like, "What?"
I know. I looked for news. McCarthy fall. McCarthy.
No, it's McConnell.
It kept bringing up the problem that he had with, when he was being elected to the House. Yeah, McConnell. McConnell is, he's really early Pisces, and
Isn't that the ones you said that were going to be affected?
yeah, yeah. So he's really early Pisces, but this is classic astrology that the effects are felt more by the early Pisces, and so it entered like 2 days ago. The Saturn entered, and he has his Sun in Pisces. I think it's a little less than 2 degrees. It's really early. So that's a classic Saturn hit, where, in fact, I hear that he tripped. So, in other words, his feet caused the problem. Pisces is the sign of feet.
Okay.
And sometimes people think astrologers make up the stuff, like just to be clever. Pisces definitely rules your feet. And so the injury came from that. But from what I hear, you were telling me it's a shoulder injury.
Yeah, he broke his shoulder.
Right. And there, I don't have his time of birth. He may have a shoulder connection through Gemini. He does have his Jupiter in Gemini square. It's in square to his sun. So the odds of that showing up are there as well, right? But bottom line, the way that the transit cycle of Saturn is this year is going to go forward, 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 but it comes back to those degrees again very late in the year. So this is giving you the whole period when he's probably not going to be doing too well, and he may be feeling pain and
Yeah.
discomfort. And then there's the other thing that you were mentioning, which is this another classic Saturn. You notice when Saturn is either on your sign, opposite, or square, in the four corners, injury is possible, of course, but also popularity. People start to dislike you. People speak against you. It has that quality. And so that's why you were saying all of a sudden they're saying he should retire because
The
there's a big rift.
Republicans are saying that.
Yeah, exactly. And they,
You notice how the Democrats never say nothing.
well, I mean, but in a way, though, isn't it amazing that we're in a period of time when McConnell is seen as the honest one?
I know. I
I
know.
mean, it's so ridiculous.
I'll tell you, I don't wish anything bad on him, but I will not forget the damage he did to the Supreme Court.
Of course.
He's one of the reasons.
Yeah, exactly. So right now he's sort of, I mean, he didn't really very strongly push back against Fox, which he should have. He should have said, this is just plain garbage. Instead, he said, he puts the paper and he says, oh, I agree with the police chief, instead of saying, Tucker Carlson is a sleazebag and so is Fox.
But that's how he makes his way, because he's a sleazebag. He walks treads carefully because he must always have power. But
Exactly,
I think this before you said he's up again in 2026.
It looks like that. It looks like he won his in 2020. So then it's a 6-year term. Yeah. So it'd be
Because somebody wrote and said, Linda, I remember you saying he wouldn't serve the whole time. And I thought it was because he was, he just was brought down. He didn't win the Senate, and come 2024, he's going to lose it again. It could still be the reason, or maybe it's just thing just kicked his butt and he decides, you know what, it's not worth it. Do you know how old he is?
he's in his 80s. He's pretty old.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a jobs like that are incredibly demanding, and his has become more so because now there's a bit of a split. I think he still has most of the, he's got the bulk of the caucus, but people like Rick Scott and a few others don't like him, and so he's
And
having
vice
to
versa,
navigate.
I'm sure.
Oh yeah, no, totally. And
Well,
and by
it's
the way,
very sad for him to see what those people have turned into.
oh yeah, I mean, it's amazing again to say that in the scheme of things, if you want to be relative, he's better than Rick Scott. Rick Scott is worse, in
Oh,
my
I know.
opinion. So it's remarkable, it's, that you would have to
Now,
compare.
I had a strange hit that I saw Gavin Newsom putting in a supplement, or somebody to take over Feinstein's. So the only reason he would do that, she's not due until 2024, is if she passes away, which I'm not wishing on. But I have a bad feeling about Feinstein.
And Gavin Newsom, he would, that's what you're getting.
Well, yeah, when she, if something happened and she died before the voting, he would put somebody in, and of course they'll put a Democrat. But and there's the people that already announced they're running can't be the ones that are put in there, and it'll be someone temporary until. But let me, I haven't looked yet at Diane. Did you take a look, see at her birth chart?
I didn't. I need to look at it a little bit. It's possible. It's possible because if, again, the cycles, depends what kind of cycles you're in, and it's a bit like McConnell's, they're more threatening, right? By the way,
Yeah.
This is also for those that are thinking, rightfully so, that the House circus, is ramping up, with McCarthy giving all those hours to Carlson so he can create, these invented tales and so forth. But remember that McCarthy and MTG both have early planets, fairly early mutables, so that by April and into May, the situation gets really dicey because the Saturn is going through there. Now, I don't know that means necessarily they're going to fall down any set of stairs. It doesn't
Right.
have to be that way. But Saturn has a way of bringing it to account, and
Right.
the way these people play, they're kind of asking for it. They're basically
Yeah.
doing things that come back to haunt them. So,
And the other thing is, it's not necessarily that she dies. She may just say, look, I can't come back because I'm really sick. Gavin, you're going to have to put somebody in.
but is that something Gavin Newsom does? Because he's the governor of California. So
she's the senator from San Francisco.
Okay.
So he's the one that anybody that leaves, and even I think a Republican, as long as he's governor, he can put in whoever he wants until the next voting. And I think he told everybody he would put a black woman in,
well,
which is Barbara Lee. But Barbara Lee already announced that she's running for that seat, so now he can't put her in. Maybe Barbara Boxer, because they used to be good pals or something. Or I know Diane's staff could help her run everything until she leaves. But I feel like she can't show up right now to the Senate for the meetings or anything. She's in the hospital.
Yeah, no, and the Senate is so tight that every person is needed. So
and let me tell you, she did a fantastic job. I've known her for years. I've met her several times. There's certain things that happen in my life where I reached out to her, and because I was her constituent, and she was on it. And it wasn't maybe her, it was her staff, but still, when you asked Barbara Feinstein, it was done.
Oh yeah, no, she's definitely a long-term.
So I'm gonna sit down today and write her a letter and tell her how much I love her.
Valuable player for sure. No doubt about it.
Yeah, so I just given that flash. So if you didn't look her up, she was born June 22nd, 1933.
Yeah, I have her chart. I know I can look her up
So is that one of the ones that's pushing the end? Is that anybody is getting affected by Saturn?
Not from that.
Okay.
Not from that. No, not from that. That would have to be something else. And the thing is, McConnell's is more threatening because it's right to the sun energy in a chart. But the older you are, the more any planet can be a threat if you get, some kind of hit. So yeah, there's that. But in her case, June 22nd, that's right on the solstice. So June 22nd, that's the beginning of Cancer. Saturn is actually supporting that point. It's no problem, right? But Pisces, early Pisces, early Virgo, early Sagittarius, early Gemini, as in like those days as the sign starts and it goes to the end of the month for those people for that month, like February, May, November. That they're the ones that are being challenged by Saturn. And by the way, no need to induce panic with any of this, because all that does is when Saturn is around, you need to be more focused, more deliberate, which is a good idea all the time anyway, right? Like if you're gonna walk down a set of stairs, you know do it carefully because something could go wrong. Maybe there's a banana peel there. I don't know, something. So Saturn, when it's there, that's what you do. But you could argue that's true all the time, right? It's just
Right.
that when Saturn is around, it's more pressing. And the other thing is that the best work that people do in their lives is ironically during those periods, right? Because
Right.
Saturn will kind of remind you, no, I need to get going on this, and you actually are willing to sacrifice something else, your fun time, whatever, to get it rolling. So it's not meant to be this horrible thing, you know. You can actually put it to work, and it's very useful. So
Right. Right. So any aspects going on right now we should, because I'm a little worried. I did read the cards and I see Ukraine being successful, but when I read them the last time, I said, ooh, they're about ready to get hit. It's going to be a nasty hit, but don't worry. Might be 2 more hits and then they're moving forward to a win. So did you see anything with the Ukraine aspects with Zelensky?
you know, the thing is, this cycle, this Saturn cycle, it's simultaneously good for Zelensky, bad for Putin. So the only thing is, though, that you know, it's not right away. Like some of these people that I hear saying things, oh, March, you know, Saturn enters Pisces, Pluto enters Aquarius, the end of the world. It doesn't work like that. That's the entry point. Pluto's going to be in Aquarius for the next 16 years or something. It goes, I think, even longer, 2040 or something.
Yeah.
And Saturn is in Pisces for 3 years. It doesn't happen right away. There's a change in energy. It starts to build from there. Zelensky is the previous sign, Aquarius, so Saturn was all over him during that, you know, and there you go. I mean, how bad can it get? There you have it. But now it's changing. And Putin has been doing this thing with separate planet Jupiter opposite his sun, expanding. But those oppositions of Jupiter, you expand often incorrectly. You gauge the situation poorly, you overexpand, and then it collapses on you. And this other thing with Saturn that just happened, it's not good for his health. And all those rumors, if they're true, that'll keep, you know, moving in that direction, which is not a good thing.
Yeah.
Not a
Yeah.
good thing. Yeah.
Have you taken a look at Orange Crush lately?
Yeah. Okay, like this has to be the most hilarious thing. Did you see that thing that was presented by Stephen Colbert, but he pulled it out of that speech that he made? He looked into the camera and he said, he built a wall, he said, but the Democrats came in, they took it away. They hid it. They put it in a hiding area, which of course is pretty funny. Like think about that.
God, you
The
just
wall.
blatantly
How do you
lied.
hide a wall? Yeah, and this tells you, you know, first of all, you could say he himself is a moron. We kind of know that, but who's following this guy? Like, how can you look at this and not say, like, please, Jesus, you know, you're hiding the wall? Like, how? It's remarkable that he can say things that are completely invented, and yet he has all these followers still, you know, that follow
Yeah,
him
but
along.
he doesn't have enough followers.
Well, no, I mean, of course, it's been reduced, but there's all this tension, you know, between Fox News and Republican Party. It's because he's still there. He's still plowing away. I don't see things getting better. They get worse because
Yes.
there are too many legal points. And I know people are really impatient. They want it to be immediately.
Yeah, we've
But
been only talking about this since I've been on air for 5, 6 years.
I know, but the feds, if you do your homework, which often is nothing more than look at a lot of crime shows and look how the feds operate. They operate slowly, but when they get you, you are finished because they have a lot of resources and they have all the evidence. And you can't go after this guy until you're 100% sure that he's
Right.
got no way out. And so I've heard people say, for example, really smart legal analysts, those guys on Midas Touch, I think are really good lawyers.
Oh, I watch that all the time. I love
Right.
that show.
And he said, yeah, some people are saying it's going to be February, but he thought more likely April. I had pointed to a block of time there between mid-January and mid-April. Like we're in the range, you know,
We're in the range, yeah.
we're in the range. I mean, I'm nearly sure, like 90s confident that the legal issues are going to become a huge problem for him in this thing where he's trying to run, you know, run for office. Because even if he tries to use it as a, oh, look, they're coming after me, it's kind of an old message now. You know, it doesn't have the same power that it
Right.
used to have. So
But did you see Dominion is telling Fox News, we want every one of your people to tell the truth and to apologize on air.
Yeah, which Fox, it's a big problem. Yeah, it's a huge
Oh,
problem for Fox. I
oh.
mean,
And then
but
maybe we can talk money. But you know they're not going to do that.
well, it's
No, I see Murdoch just saying, all of yous can go. I just feel like when he gets hit with $1 billion thing from the court, even though they fight it, they'll still have to pay it. I see him telling all these people that were part of this, or maybe he even says you have to apologize and they say, I quit.
well, I'll tell you this, right? The Fox chart, and I think it's pretty logical to use it. I used the time of the first program, October 7th, 1996, at 6 a.m. They launched the station. And that chart is getting the same heat that McConnell is getting because it has a key planet right in the way of Saturn. So from now all the way into February of 24, it's problematic. And the thing is, once you give it a conduit, a way to express, and this is pretty clear. I mean, they're caught dead to rights. They've got evidence that they don't want known. I mean, Tucker Carlson, Hannity, Laura Ingraham, it's a mess. And it's going to keep getting worse because they keep trying to redact that stuff. It's going to be made public. It's a total nightmare. So I think Fox is going to continue in a struggle. I really do. It's
and Tucker Carlson, listen, those tapes and stuff, it's a nothing burger.
Which tapes?
He put out a tape.
Yeah.
Tape, and he said that big guy with the horn thing, they were giving him a tour. The police would, no, they weren't. They were trying to get him out of the building. This is after the fact. And they were trying to be gentle with him because they didn't want him to act out. And he was walking around looking, and they were just standing with him like, okay, head this way. And the police, the head of the Capitol Police said, this is a bunch of malarkey. That's not a tour before. This is after. This guy's lying.
Of course. I mean, and the thing is, see, this is where Democrats tend to be on the softer side. This would be a moment for Merrick Garland to give a speech and say, I'm aware of this thing that Fox published, but let me just tell you this. If you do what these people did, you will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law because you're not allowed to break windows and break through doors and threaten people's lives. That's how the law works.
Why didn't they go through the visitor center?
Right, exactly. But the thing is, in a way, you could say maybe it's better if he doesn't do it because it would just provoke things. But yeah, it's a total scam. I mean, the way Fox is behaving is so extreme. But it never works out. Honestly, it's like it's so much easier to tell the truth. When you're lying, you have to always be covering.
It's hard to
something
tell.
That could go wrong. Yeah, it's complicated. So it's remarkable, though.
Linda, I thought you said you weighed 110 pounds. What? Oh, yeah, that's right. That's my story.
I mean, isn't it amazing, though, to read how Tucker Carlson hates Trump so much and then he's on air constantly saying the opposite of it?
I love it.
It just boggles the mind.
But are the people out there getting this? Are they hearing this, what he's saying? Because they're saying on Fox News, of course, they don't talk about this at all. They're not talking about the lawsuit with Dominion.
Well, right. But I mean, if you think about it, though, the part that is, to me, most dangerous for Republicans is that they're not doing the math. Because even if you have a big base that believes your BS and you keep telling them the same thing and you tell them that because they want to hear that, so it's like a closed circle. But the problem is if that big base is smaller than the bigger block of voters, how do you win elections? That's what Joe Scarborough keeps saying. He keeps saying this is a stupid plan. You all can talk to each other and, feel happy that you've got this message that you like, but it's not a winning message overall. Like it's a winning message within your circle and within primaries and things like that. But when you go to the general election, then you lose, right? So in a way, it's helping Democrats through their behavior,
Did you ever take a look at Sarah Huckabee?
No, I didn't look at her. She's kind of a vile creature, though.
They just okayed children working. There should be no reason why children can't get a job.
Oh my God, it's amazing. It's just so incredible that, I mean, it's like taking a theory to the extreme. It's like when you see them, for instance, the Republicans advocating for keeping the old light bulbs, because let's not change anything. We should be using 1960s light bulbs, never mind anything that has progress in it. They have an allergy to.
And she's in Arkansas, and so they like her there.
Oh
It's
yeah, well
sort of a
that's
backwoods hillbilly that depends on the federal government for a lot of their money.
yeah, well that's the unsaid thing that once again Democrats will not do this.
No,
But can you imagine if you just dropped that bomb in Congress and said, you know, tell MTG like, how are you guys going to pay your bills? Because the blue states that you so dislike, that you want a divorce from, they're paying all your bills. How are you going
yeah,
to pay, Marjorie? Got any ideas? I mean, but then people say, oh, they're
no, you
causing
can't.
division. They're causing division.
Because it's totally illegal for them to even threaten. And yet she's still out there with her big mouth.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
August 13th, 1982 is Huckabee Sanders. So
yeah,
she's a Leo.
yeah. I'll check her out as well. Yeah, and you know, these people like this, the way they play, because it's basically an undisciplined way to do things. It's just like what they need is Saturn to drop by, you know, and pay them a visit. This is why, by the way, Carlson, you can see he's kind of getting away with it because he got through the Saturn pressure was most intense in January and February when it first came out. You know that he had done this thing. Now it's Saturn has moved on. It would have been so much better if it would continue for another year or so, because then it would totally ensure that he'd probably lose his job. But as it is, nah, it's going to be difficult
I think
to
you
get rid of the
mentioned that
guy.
before.
Yeah, yeah. So
So how about Fannie Willis? Did you ever take a look see at her?
Penny Willis, I don't have a birth time. I think with her, it's you know it's week to week. I mean, it's probably ready, but now they're trying to come after her. I don't think it'll succeed. Do you
I
feel like
don't either, but I don't know how it won't succeed because they're all voting that they can remove anybody, and it's all because they want to get rid of her.
Yeah, no, I
But I
know.
see her double. I see her moving fit quickly. Like she might get subpoenas out before they even have permission to do that.
But aren't they out already? I thought that it was now at the point where she could charge, or she
She can
could.
charge now, but it's not out yet.
It's not out yet. Yeah.
She
Well,
needs to double. She needs to hey-ho because
I mean,
they
the thing
what they
is,
want to do is stop her.
I mean, the thing is with Trump. One of the things you see with Trump in his chart is that in the you could say that last phase of his life, and I think he's in it. It's women that are going to bring him down, and
I've
that's
always
why
said
you
that.
see women judges. You know, people like Fonnie Willis. You know, Liz
Uh,
Cheney.
New
It comes
York.
from also the woman. What's your sense of that one? The one with the from back from the '90s. The one where
The
he's charged.
assault. Oh, she'll win. She'll win. He might not even be around by then, though.
Well, you know what it is though too. They passed the Justice Department let it get through that or let it allowed people to sue as well, and there you see another karmic consequence. This guy has spent his whole life suing everybody. I think he's launched thousands of suits, so now he might get suits in his direction.
Apparently, he
And
has tons of lawsuits going.
yeah,
And now
exactly.
they've just said that the Washington police that were involved in that riot and all those people affected, including members of Congress, could sue him. A personal lawsuit for damages done.
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. And the thing is, that's one of the things that sometimes confuses me because, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you're doing criminal law, criminal proceedings, the whole jury has to convict. There can't even be one. But when you're doing civil, you can have a split jury and still win the case because I heard a couple of people on TV say, well, if Dominion puts it before a jury, Fox just needs a juror or two. And I thought, no, that's not right. If they win it by majority, I believe it's enough
Yeah.
to convict, right?
I don't think this is criminal. This is civil. So
It's
it's
civil.
a
It's money.
preponderance of the evidence. Yeah.
Exactly.
And
So
how they got OJ.
right. So with Trump, really, the way to get him is to sue him and take his money. That's the part that he really hates, because so if you get him into a civil suit and get him on the wrong side of it, perfect.
I just like, gosh, these people, he got into office and his university was considered a fraud and this was considered a fraud, his stakes and all this.
Now,
It's
I
like,
mean,
oh,
I
and
think
yet people still adored him.
I think you can trace it though to. I mean, if you're looking at the big pattern and wondering, well, why is this happening? I trace it to those cycles that I've talked about in the past, where it's mirroring the Civil War period. So the underlying underpinning is a racial thing. And they look at this guy, literally, he's like a white supremacist leader. He's telling you through dog whistles, sometimes even more openly, that that's the way to go. They hear that and they follow him and they don't care that,
Yeah.
the rest doesn't matter. Right?
Right.
I
Now,
mean,
have you looked at the chart for the United States? Have you taken a look? See?
oh yeah, no, I track that chart. It's in my memory, so I know
Are
what it
you
is.
seeing anything with the United States, especially in terms of, finances and all this stuff that's going on?
Well, the one thing that's there, you can kind of see it, particularly for the U.S. in a pretty obvious way, is that COVID began just as Saturn entered Aquarius, and now as it leaves, it's pretty much now not a thing anymore. So it
Right.
was for the U.S. You could even say for the world in a certain sense, but there were other planets as well. But that's one thing around, the fact that Saturn changes signs, COVID ends, because now the Saturn in Pisces actually is good for the U.S. because the
Oh,
U.S. is a
good.
Cancer planet, right?
Okay.
And around because you're asking about the money and the inflation and so forth.
Yes.
I think with that, like Jupiter in Aries is at odds with the U.S. And Jupiter is an expanding force, so tying it to inflationary issues, because that's why the interest rates rose and that's why the market was pushed down. So you need that to settle down and start going the other way. I don't think that can happen until at minimum Jupiter goes into Taurus, which is in the summer, right? So
Okay.
you still need a few more months for the situation to stabilize because it's still square for another few months.
Right.
So
But
that's
I
how I would
never
look at it.
saw I saw the 2008 crash and I didn't even have a dime in the stock market. And I told a little old lady, she said, Linda, I have all my money in stock. And I threw and I said, oh, girl, you better get your money out of there and send some my way. No, I'm just kidding. And she did, and it crashed.
Yeah, that was the 2008 was the very beginning of Pluto entering Capricorn. In fact, I remember there were these arguments with astrologers because there was this one astrologer who insisted that the U.S. was really a Scorpio rising country because he saw that in the I don't know $5 bill or some bill you could see the clock said 210 and I thought, are you kidding? Anyway, but the argument was he was saying prior to that, that the economy was bad, and I remember thinking the economy's fine. The economy became bad right as Pluto entered Capricorn, which matches the other chart for the U.S., the Sagittarius rising chart, and so it caused a debacle because Capricorn in the U.S. chart is the money house, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't last. I mean, when you think about it, that would have been a huge opportunity to make a lot of money because if you just steeled yourself and you bought the market, then the market was at one point there was around 6,000. It's around 30,000
I
now.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It
So
went
this
down
is
like that again when Trump was in office. I remember watching it just drop, drop, drop.
right. Yeah,
Was it
exactly. I mean,
COVID? Yeah.
this is the thing that with the U.S. for all the complaining, if you just look around, all the problems the U.S. has, even so, it's still the place people put their money in because you look at things relatively. You look at the whole planet Earth, and where are you going to put your money? Where? In Russia? In
Right.
China? India? What ideas do you have? There's no place. It's
Right.
mostly
My
still
son
here.
said something, and my son is pretty logical and he
Hmm.
looks at financial things.
Yeah,
So
not like you,
smart.
huh?
If
Not
I
like
ever
you.
need a answer to a question, he's the one to go to. And he said, Mom, I'm going to tell you something. The United States is pretty good as far as their economy.
Yeah,
I realize that, it's messed up in some areas because the rich get richer. But he said it could last a couple of hundred more years. That's what he said.
yeah. It's entirely possible. I mean, uh, it's difficult to bring down a big infrastructure that is working. This is, by the way, the same problem that people like Trump have. He thinks he can come in. I mean, it's pretty remarkable that he's taken it this far, but it's difficult because there's a rule of law and a lot of people defending that, and you can get into a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
But that's what keeps it up. I mean, if you start ignoring the rule of law, then the entire thing falls apart. That's what keeps it working.
That's what keeps us a democratic society.
Exactly, exactly. And people like him, what they're doing is the playbook of fascists. They want to create chaos, and then as the chaos gets worse and worse, they step in telling you that they're going to provide you with the solution. That's Trump's
Right.
game in a nutshell. That's all he ever does.
Yeah. Oh my God. And that I
Throw
can't
things
believe
up.
Barr told him that. Barr said, Pete, you're not going to win. That's because of COVID and because people are tired of you whining and carrying on
Yeah.
about everyone and everything. You blame everybody else. Oh God, Trump was furious at him. He said,
Yeah,
would you
but
like my resignation? Yes.
yeah, yeah, no, and I mean, I wish there were a way. I mean, this is so blatant, now with what Carlson is doing, and of course, the orange menace. What did he do? Immediately, he posted on that fake Twitter thing that he does. He put in there, "Oh, you should watch Tucker Carlson. He's exposing the left wing con job," because he's trying to tell you none of that happened on January 6th when we all saw.
They were just tourists.
Yeah, exactly. So, but see, this is where Fox risks a lot too, because they themselves aired a lot of that on January 6th. They aired those, and that can end up becoming part of the case, with Dominion, because
Well,
Dominion's going to say,
also Tucker Carlson lying and going up there and acting all this bull again. Isn't this hurting them? Not you think they would stand down a little bit and not talk about stuff like this.
they're watching. I mean, you know what these guys do? I guarantee you, they watch. That's why they panicked. They watch their numbers. In 2020, when they had a really smart analytical section, they said Arizona's going for Biden. And they were thinking, great, we're the first ones to say it. Pfft, horrible idea. People got mad and they could see their numbers dropping. That's all they care about. So then, right now, if Tucker Carlson's staff drop their numbers, then you would see them change. But if not, then it won't. Because a lot of people, most of them, watch Fox and they like to hear that.
Well, the
Nothing
generals
happened
are
yet.
now saying no more Fox News in military facilities because it's nothing but lies.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. This where you go back to the thing before we were saying, when you keep lying, it's a tougher job. It's like committing the perfect crime. It's difficult because you always leave something,
Yeah, yeah.
and then they catch you,
Was
right?
Fox around during the OJ thing?
No, no, they came in right after, so they were not
Because
part
I
of it.
remember watching. I thought it was Fox News talking about OJ, and the coverage was pretty good.
Well, it might have been because OJ's was, I think, 95. Fox came in 96, but it might have been that they followed up on it and said some things. But Fox at the beginning was pretty normal. They
Yeah.
were definitely tilting Republican, but they were still trying to be journalists. And then as time was passing, it got worse and worse and worse. With
And then with Trump, it got even worse.
oh, it got ridiculous. Don't forget they had that evil snake, Roger Ailes was running
Oh, I
that
remember him.
outfit. And I mean, there's a I think it's HBO. There's a special that was done on Roger Ailes' life, and it's scary when you watch that. It's really,
Is
really
as
scary.
bad as that movie that they did about him?
No, well, that's the one with Russell Crowe played.
Oh no, I haven't seen that one then.
It's a watch because it brings in the whole thing with Gretchen. What was her name? Gretchen Carlson. Is she also a Carlson? I can't remember if that's her last name. Anyways, the blonde woman who was being,
Is that
accosted
famous actress? Did she play her?
I don't remember who played her, but I know that it brings in the Me Too movement. That 8-part series covers all of that.
But there was someone he got rid of, a woman with short blonde hair, and
That was
she
her.
went to sue him for sexual harassment. And another person on there decided she would go for it too. And that helped bring him down. That's when, what's his name, Murdoch, and his sons came in and said, we're going to have to get rid of you.
Yeah, well, and then there was the O'Reilly, another person, got in trouble that way. I mean, it's just a den of thieves. That place, Al Franken captured it perfectly with a book back in the 90s. Remember that book, Lies and the Lying Liars Who Tell Them? And underneath it said, a fair and balanced look at the right. And Fox tried to sue him for using that moniker because he was referring to them, but the court said, no, that's fine. He can do that. It's
Yeah.
satire. It's satire.
Because he
So
talked, I just heard him on a radio show saying that, yeah, it
exactly,
was considered
exactly.
satire.
And by the way, that's when they were more normal, if you can believe it, because you go back to the George W. Bush era, you could already see Fox, tilting pretty obviously to the
Oh,
right
Trump
compared
wanted to sue the Academy Awards. He wanted to sue anybody that said anything bad about him, called Meryl Streep a has-been.
yeah, no, for sure. I mean,
How many Academy Awards are sitting on in his bathroom?
yeah, in his bathroom, that's where they are.
But he always thought he could see, and then he would sue anybody. He sued. Did he sue Jon Stewart? I think he sued Jon Stewart.
I don't know about Jon Stewart, but I know he sued Bill Maher because Bill Maher said
Oh yeah,
he was born
I stopped
from.
watching Bill Maher. He got kind of off the wall there.
Yeah, he's become more the thing with him is he doesn't like the extreme left stuff, and some of it I can understand, like when people complain too much about things like safe spaces. If people yell at you, ignore them or yell back. Why do you, or people say things to you, you're stupid, and then you look at them and you say, no, you're more stupid. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? I mean, why is that a problem? So it's the idea of pushing that too much. But overall, he's definitely still, anti-Republican. It's just that in a few
Well,
places,
he called that Trump would win that time, and he's been living off that. He said, "I told you guys, I told you." Michael Moore too, and then for a while, that's all you heard. But
yeah,
Michael Moore came out and said that Trump would lose this time.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? Any person you're listening to, you have to use your, powers of discernment. Look at it, and someone can be a really good person in one way, and then say something that doesn't feel right. Like the guy had on his show recently, the British guy, Russell Brand. I mean, he is I'm sorry, his all idealism, his message is all muddled and completely unrealistic, and yet he's very popular because he strings a lot of sentences together. But you can see through the message, and it's not clear.
Isn't
It's
he
not.
on the right?
No, he's kind of he's not on the right exactly. He's everywhere all at once. Like back in the pandemic days, he was doing the Tucker Carlson thing. I'm only asking questions, but in reality, he was creating doubt in people's minds. And to this day, he tells people that it's better to take that horse medicine than to take the vaccine. That's not correct. I mean, you may not need a vaccine in some cases, but overall, especially if you have health conditions, you should get vaccinated because if you don't, you're at risk. That's how it works. And
Yeah.
you have to think of it for all of society, not for individual people.
And Robert Kennedy Jr. too. He was
Yeah, exactly,
white guy
exactly.
he was.
Yeah, like totally off the
And
rails.
you know how much they say because of the vaccine, it saved 1 trillion people's lives.
How many? A trillion? No.
Trillion, according to the news I just read. Well,
Well, you can't have
there's
a
not a
trillion because
trillion in the world, but
a
yeah,
trillion is too many. Maybe they
too
were talking
many.
about the
Sorry,
money, but I mean, you could see
talking
how.
like Marjorie Taylor Greene now.
Yeah. I know. There's a school that has a $5 billion budget. I know. It's hilarious. Yeah, no, but it's for sure like the vaccine thing is most critical for any person that has any underlying condition.
Right, and what it does, yes, a lot
Yeah.
of people are mad. Like I had all the vaccines. My friend Dan had all the vaccines. And he still got COVID. Of course, he works in a school, but he didn't struggle terrible like he would have had he had it in the beginning.
Exactly. Yeah, but you can't talk to these people because the thing is, this is what Russell Brand will do. If you show him numbers showing that death rates went way up in places where people were unvaccinated, he will say, "How do you know those numbers are real?" And then I just look at him and say, "Well, how do you know anything is real, Russell? I mean, by following
Yeah.
you, it's like we're just floating in space here with your theories. But give me a plan of action. What do you want to do?" Because he doesn't like any government. He doesn't like anything. That's total chaos. He thinks you can just go in and change everything all at once. No, you can't. That's not how it works.
Hopefully, he's still a UK citizen, right?
I think he is. Yeah, he's still over there. But my point is that a person can be really charming, have some good ideas, but if you listen carefully, you start to think, wait a second, what do you do with this? This makes no sense. You can't implement it. It's illogical. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just talk, right? So, yeah.
So any news that you want us to know before we shut down? Anything you've looked at?
Well, there is the ultra famous now, the Pluto and Aquarius entry, which happens, later this month. But again, don't look at that as the end of the world or anything like that. On the other hand, and this is a question that someone asked on my channel because they heard, I think I was talking with you and I said to you that, remember we said, okay, we don't think fascists are going to win this battle that the world is in, but yet there could be trouble for a number of years still because of where the planets are. And the logic is that, imagine you're back in 1940 or 1941, and you heard someone say, no, the fascists aren't going to win this. Well, it still took a while. It took years. And there was a huge struggle to get to the other side. So I just don't know how we get through these years without there being some pretty difficult challenges. But the whole point is keep focusing on winning the battle, because these struggles tend to bring you into greater freedom later. But you have to go through the period to get to the other side, just like in the 1940s. Imagine if the war had gone the way of the Germans and the Japanese and the Italians at the time. They wanted to implement fascism all throughout the planet, right?
Right.
But luckily, or whatever, it went the other way. And I think it's the same thing happening now. Pluto in Aquarius is the other side, like it's totally opposite to where it was when we were in the thick of that trouble back in the 1940s. But then,
right. And
one.
the other thing is, not only did it take a long time, but I see Trump getting indicted, but I never see them putting him in jail. And one of the reasons is because they may put him on house arrest or something, because they're worried about the people arming themselves and creating chaos.
I just had a thought within my mind. Who knows if it's true or not, but
I see people trying to act out, but it's not the people he thinks. He thinks the whole world will come together and fight. No, that's not going to happen.
No, I just had a thought that, like how Saturn is in Pisces, right? And remember back to McConnell, how it rules the feet.
Right.
So Trump gets indicted and he gets put under house arrest, and then everybody knows he's wearing an ankle monitor.
Yeah. And the other thing is that he, look at what Tucker Carlson was saying. I can't wait till he's gone. I can't wait till we don't. I hate that man horribly. And I told you that a lot of the inside scoop of people that I've read that are a little bit connected to Washington, even with the Pentagon. I mean, a lot of people just plain don't like him. Some people may agree on his white supremacy thing, but they don't like him as a person. It's not going to break their heart, because right now they're all acting out for Trump. So when Trump goes down or he's exiting, then Marjorie Taylor Greene is a has-been.
Exactly. And probably
McCarthy is only jumping for her because she's the connection with Trump and he's telling her what to do.
Well, I mean, think about it though. This thing hinges on, you got to defeat them at the ballot box. Take your chances. Never say my vote doesn't count. Your vote counts a lot. If we all stay together, keep your mind on the fact that we're going to win this, and make sure you vote and get as many other people to vote. That's it. Take your chances. They talk all about cheating and this and that. Not easy to do. If the votes get in, they're going to lose. And when they lose, maybe the next election, maybe 2 elections, eventually they'll give up because they'll realize this isn't working for us, and they'll start to move away. There's no other way. I mean, any other solution, well, what are you saying? Should we start shooting at each other? Makes no sense. You do it through the ballot box. That's the key, right?
There you go, my friend.
Exactly.
Well, it was wonderful talking to you.
Likewise, yeah.
I always love your background. You stay in the nicest areas.
Yeah, I know. It's like beautiful trees. They're kind of like, those are the fall trees though, right? And now we're moving into spring, but.
Right. Yep. Right. And it's raining here, my friend.
I know.
Did you see anything in my chart that looks like I'm going to be drowning soon?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
It is going to be 8 inches in my town alone.
I'll let you know when the water.
They're already evacuating people from different creeks and stuff because they had been flooded. Now it's going 4 feet above the flood zone. Yeah,
it's so crazy because normally we're the ones that get too much rain here, but if anything here, it's been colder than normal. And there's been rain, but a lot of days where it's just icy cold and it's clear. So
Right.
it switched over to you. Right?
Oh
By
yeah.
the way,
Well, but remember when people asked about the drought, and I said, "Oh no, that's going to turn around because I see tons of rain." Boy, was I right.
huh? Yeah. And by the way, just really like last week question. What about the earthquake zones? Are you seeing any problem in my zone? Because
No.
no. Okay, that's good. I'm glad to.
In fact, everybody was saying a big earthquake was going to hit yesterday
Mm,
because of some alignment. But it's just like with Saturn. Sometimes you feel it before, after. But I feel but I've never felt like even Turkey size earthquake. I
right.
feel a shake, and I do see news media around and talking about it, but it doesn't feel, it feels like it could be in the north towards Eureka, who already got hit, or in middle of California.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean that's the thing. The whole West Coast is on that fault, so it's just that you measure it in at least decades and often hundreds of years. In terms
Right,
of things
right.
happening. But
Well, Edgar Casey said what's going to really affect us is the shifting of the poles. And
well,
that's when a lot of the earthquakes and stuff happen. But that's a ways away. I don't think I'll be alive then.
yeah,
So.
Edgar Casey. He was another Pisces, by the way.
Oh yeah, I know. That was amazing. And he even said the date he was going to die.
Yeah, he was like a trance specialist. He could go into a internal state and know all kinds of things about the person's body and things like that. And some of that stuff, I've read some of his perceptions, and they're dead on. He
Oh yeah.
understood all kinds of things, and it's who knows how he got it, but he got it.
The only thing he couldn't do is do anything that would help materially. Like he couldn't give you there was no lotto. Even me, I can't give you lotto numbers. I can't tell you where the gold is. He wasn't allowed to do that, but he could do other things,
Yeah, well,
including healing. So,
health is the most important thing. So,
and he got things wrong. One time he did a whole reading on somebody, and then they let them know that they did the reading. The guy had already been dead. So
well, he was doing, yeah, but maybe he's doing it on the next dimension.
it could
So,
be. All right, my friend, you take
all
care.
right, take care,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye.
And astrology alert.
Astrology alert. That's where I am.
I'll
Yes.
put that down below, you guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.